Cardinal O'Brien, thanks very much for joining us. Not long to go to the papal visit now. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm, like everybody else, getting that little bit more excited now as day follows day, and we realise so much has already been done by so very many great people in preparing for the visit, and just hoping that the final last touches now will be put in place before the Holy Father arrives.
How are those preparations going?
I think they're going extremely well. Obviously, as in any major event in any country, there are hiccups, there can be ups and downs, but I'm delighted at the way in which everyone has worked together, whether in England and Wales or here in Scotland, with regard to the national aspect of the visit, or particularly here in Scotland, getting things organised. And of course, we're lucky here in Scotland, and we've been able to leave the Palace of Holyrood House and the state part of the Pope's visit in the hands of others, the protocol experts from Buckingham Palace and from the Vatican as well. But we've had a lot of work to do with regard to the parade, St Ninian's Day parade along Princes Street, and then of course in the west of Scotland with regard to the Mass at Bellahouston. But great work has been done, and I must say I personally am looking forward intensely to the visit now.
What do you hope the Pope's message will be when he gets here?
Well, I hope his message on that St Ninian's Day will be something about the roots of our faith, the Christian roots of our faith here in this country of Scotland. As we know, the traditional date, the traditional year in which we observe the coming of St Ninian is 397. And before the great millennium of the year 2000, we celebrated the 1600th anniversary of the arrival of Christianity from Rome by a bishop, Bishop Ninian. And I hope that the first words will be about that coming again of a bishop from Rome to strengthen us in that faith, the Christian faith, which has been here in Scotland for those 1,600 years.
What do you think this visit means for Scotland?
Well, I think it will be an indication once more that Scotland has been a country in its own right, as it were, for many centuries. And John Paul II acknowledged that when he arrived in Scotland in 1982, acknowledging that he wasn't a separate country, kissing the ground at Edinburgh Airport and so on. I actually have that turf in my front lawn at this present time, and I'm sure that Pope Benedict will perform a similar gesture when he arrives in our country and when he's speaking to the Scottish people as an independent people.
And what does it mean for Scotland's Catholics?
Well, I think they will indeed be strengthened in their faith again. We have had our ups and downs, and I think the Holy Father will indeed just remind us again of what we are about, what we should be about as Catholics, and we can indeed hold our heads high and face the world, face the rest of the world, and say, yes, we're proud to be Catholics, we're proud of our faith.
You know, there's a lot of sort of doom and gloom, people saying it won't be as good as 1982. What do you think about that?
Well, people naturally worry. There are those who worry about literally anything. But I'm very, very happy to entrust those worries to other people. And I trust all of my own advisors who are bringing this visit to be a wonderful event in the history of Scotland, as John Paul II's visit was a wonderful event a generation ago.
And what would you say to encourage people to go along to either Edinburgh or Glasgow?
It's a time of great rejoicing to have the Pope in our country, and I would expect, without any great encouragement for me, I'd just expect good Catholics to be in Princes Street or to be at Bellahouston, and just to acknowledge the fact that the Pope, the Vicar of Jesus Christ, is for the only second time in 2,000 plus years, only the second time has a Pope been in our country.
So you've met the Pope. What is he like as a man?
Well, he's a very kind, gentle man. That's what I've always got from him, right from that Sistine Chapel. And I was one of those privileged to take part in that papal conclave just over 5 years ago now, 2005. Privileged to take part in that conclave. and just more than impressed with him then, and more than impressed with him when I've met him at other events at which I've been in Rome, and particularly the recent ad limina visit with my brother bishops from Scotland. I think what everyone took away from our meetings with the Pope at that time was just his care, his concern, his consideration for each one of us as an individual.
And what do you say to the Pope when you're just chatting with him over lunch?
But I will be more than happy to talk to the Holy Father quite simply about Scotland, about what he's seen at Holyrood Palace, the way he was received there, the way Her Majesty received him, the crowds who were down there. I'd be happy to talk to him about Princess Street and the beautiful vista which he will have as he's being driven along, and the Pope will be looking at Edinburgh Castle on one side and then the great crowds on Princess Street all the way along.
And what does this visit mean to you personally?
This is my Silver Jubilee year as a bishop. I had various events planned for marking that with my closest collaborators at our pastoral centre, in the cathedral, with my parishioners as parish priest of our cathedral parish. I planned also, and will have had by the time the Pope is here, a national event with my brother bishops from Scotland. And then one might say, this is the crowning glory. I never expected it, and I'm sure that the Holy Father didn't realise he was going to arrive more or less in the middle of my celebrations of my Silver Jubilee.
Well, congratulations on that. Good luck on the 16th, and thanks very much for your time.
A pleasure now. Thank you too.